Hi there, how you doing? My name is Tim Warner. Welcome to this lesson entitled AWS CCP versus Azure Fundamentals, Certification Comparison. Microsoft and Amazon are two of the big three public cloud providers, and in this lesson I want to go through my experience of both exams. I have earned both of these certifications. I want to do a comparison and contrast so you understand what's what. The use case here is as follows. Both AWS and Microsoft publish certifications for cloud computing newcomers. That is, people who are either new to IT and realize that the cloud is where they need to be, so they need to skill up, or maybe existing IT professionals who have worked on premises or outside the cloud and again now realize that they need to level up quickly. Now, one thing that both Amazon and Microsoft have focused on with these beginner-level certifications is that they're focused not only on technical professionals, IT pros in other words, but also what I call paratechnical professionals, people who may be not IT pros but maybe work in sales, marketing, but who work for a business that's in the cloud, and therefore they need general familiarity with that particular cloud, Amazon and or Microsoft Azure. Both AWS and Microsoft Azure have certifications at different tiers or levels. Of course, the Cloud Practitioner and the Azure Fundamentals are both beginner or fundamentals level certs, but there's also associate, professional, expert, and specialty certification tiers from either provider if you're interested. Let's run through a global comparison of the two certifications. Now, if you look at the top row of this table, want to make sure you understand your acronyms. AWS, of course, is Amazon Web Services. CCP is the short designation for the Certified Cloud Practitioner. That's the name of the badge or the certification specifically. In the Microsoft Azure Cloud, their certification is called Azure Fundamentals. The exam ID, that is, the computer-based exam you want to register for and clear in order to earn each badge, is for AWS, it's CLF C01, and for Azure Fundamentals, the exam ID is AZ900. Both AWS and Microsoft Azure use Pearson VUE as the registrar, and you can take your exam from any computer. Now, there are restrictions. You can't take your computer-based exam outside or in a big warehouse. There are some exam security issues to consider, but it's quite convenient being able to take your certification exam from the comfort of your home or office. AWS also has a second registrar partner called PSI. Honestly, I've never used them, so I can't say anything about them. I've used Pearson VUE for over 20 years, and I've been doing online exams exclusively for the last several years, so I'm a big fan. Check out my YouTube channel elsewhere because I do separate lessons on using Pearson VUE software. You'll see that there's far more similarities between the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner and Azure Fundamentals certifications than there are differences. They're both beginner-level certifications. As you can see, they're both priced just about exactly the same at $199 US respectively. There is a difference in exam length, that's true. Notice that the AWS CCP is approximately 65 questions, whereas Azure Fundamentals approximately 45. Of course, there's a corresponding time limit difference, 120 minutes for your AWS, 85 minutes for Azure Fundamentals. Passing score approximately 70% for both exams. Another big difference between the AWS and Azure certs is that AWS is just straight multiple choice, single answer multiple choice, multiple answer multiple choice, whereas Azure Fundamentals uses the pattern Microsoft uses throughout all of their cert exams, where they mix both multiple choice and interactive item types. Lastly, we have the question of exam validity. AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner has a validity of 3 years, and in order to recertify, you'll need to take another AWS exam. Azure Fundamentals has a lifetime validity, which is really nice. You don't have to take any extra effort at all to keep that certification current on your official transcript. Next, let's take a slightly closer look at the exam content itself. First, the AWS CCP. This is a screenshot from the Certified Cloud Practitioner outline document. You could just run a quick Google search for AWS CCP and Azure Fundamentals, and you can get to the vendors' pages directly. Actually, come to think of it, at the end of this lesson, I give you a short link, and I'll make sure to add the links to the YouTube description box as well. But anyway, you can see that the Certified Cloud Practitioner is divided into 4 domains: general cloud computing terminology, security and compliance, technology, billing and pricing. Admittedly, those domain titles are a little bit vague. The bottom line, the way I would sum up AWS CCP, is that you need to have conversational familiarity with about 30 odd AWS services. And when I say conversational familiarity, you don't need to know how to plan or deploy or configure any of these services. You need to recognize what they are. You might see a question that says, you want to spin up a virtual server in the cloud. What do you need? And the correct answer would be EC2. Or you want to host a SQL Server database and have auto-scale capability. The correct answer would be the Relational Database Service, or RDS. It's that level of depth. You'll also find, besides having to know a bit just conversationally about 30-odd services, there's also some Amazon-specific stuff like Amazon's well-architected framework, the cloud computing shared responsibility model. What responsibilities does Amazon have on their side of the relationship? What relationships do you have? What are the major options in paying for your AWS account and your services? It's really pretty good stuff, really, because at the end of the day, this is about having good ground level, broad understanding of the cloud. And when you see these 4 domains, that really does match up to the essentials of what you should know about AWS. Now let's look at the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals AZ900 certification exam objectives. Here we have 6 categories, and we've got, again, cloud concepts. We've got describe core Azure services, and I would say, again, very analogously, we're talking about knowing about the 30 or so odd most popular or most commonly used Azure services. Azure Virtual Machines, Azure SQL Database, Azure Key Vault, storage accounts, this kind of stuff. There's some coverage of Azure management tools, security, network security. Now, that's a little bit of an eyebrow raise for me, because you think, wow, if I'm, say, a salesperson and I'm joining a cloud consultancy and they're requiring me to take Azure Fundamentals so I know at least a little bit about how Azure works, that kind of gets into the weeds when we're talking about security. But on the other hand, security is a principle, as far as I'm concerned, that's applicable to anybody who uses a computer, much less who works for a cloud consultancy, you see. Then again, we have compliance. That's very similar to the objective we saw in Amazon. And then there's cost and pricing and service level agreements. So I think you see that there's almost one-to-one comparison between Azure Fundamentals and AWS CCP as far as their content. Lastly, some overall impressions. I feel that AWS CCF is more straightforward between the two, but it is a bit more technical. Now, I mentioned that Azure Fundamentals has those questions about security and networking, but overall, the AWS, really, you either know it or you don't. I guess I don't mean technical in an IT sense, but technical in the questions are phrased so tightly, there's no wiggle room. You either know the answer or you don't. It's not a case where you can necessarily guess at all. Microsoft does their best to avoid those kind of traps as well, but Amazon is good. I've interviewed with Amazon before, and they are sharp cookies. They know how to evaluate your knowledge, let me put it that way. Even though there's no interactive items, the CCP exam has simple multiple choice questions. Again, that's really to the point. The questions are very brief, very terse. On the other hand, you'll find that Azure Fundamentals seems like it was written more in a verbose and interactive way, maybe to be more approachable to non-technical audiences. And again, you've got various item types. You've got not only multiple choice, but drag and drop and different interactive items to deal with as well. This can present an additional learning curve for you if you're new to IT testing and computer-based testing. It's a good reason for you to invest in a quality practice exam product. Again, look elsewhere in my YouTube channel because I cover all of these other topics separately in separate videos. I will say if I were to choose one or the other, I'm not sure it's really a question of either or, to be honest. Many businesses are multi-cloud. Honestly, I would recommend that you do both of these certifications, especially if you're fortunate enough to where the registration cost will be comped or compensated by your employer. That would be a best case scenario. By having general familiarity of both AWS and Azure, you're putting yourself at a big advantage in the job marketplace because both credentials validate a broad general understanding of those clouds. Thanks so much for your participation. I appreciate you very much. As promised, here's some links. AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, timw.info/CCP. Azure Fundamentals, timw.info/AF. Those are just short links that go to the vendors' pages. You can find me on Twitter at TechTrainerTim. My Pluralsight courses are at timw.info/PS. And my website is, wait for it, timw.info. Happy studying. All the best to you. Thank you.